Traveling can often come with hiccups, like those are just bound to happen sometimes. Thankfully, airlines and other travel companies know this and have made various policy changes to accommodate those who get hit with unwelcome surprises when traveling. One of the most profound changes was the elimination of change fees, a move that many airlines like United adopted a few years back. In this video, I'll show you how, despite facing a significant hiccup on a recent trip, I was thankfully able to make things work and get back to Illinois without any major issues. If you saw last week's video, you'd recall that my inbound flight from Bloomington to Denver was delayed about an hour and a half, and that wasn't Frontier Airlines' fault at all. Pretty much everything leaving or going to Denver was either delayed heavily or canceled in the days leading up to my trip thanks to high winds. I was initially booked for a 1-hour connection in Denver, which is doable even if you have to change concourses. Frontier uses the A concourse in Denver, and I'd be departing on United, who controls all of the B concourse. The only way to get between concourses is by taking the airport train that runs quite frequently. Now, even though we arrived late, I noticed that my original 7:30 flight, United 1397, hadn't left the gate yet, so I tried getting to the B gates as fast as I could. Unfortunately, while on the train to the B concourse, I found out that the flight had just been pushed back from the gate. So, at this point you might think that I'm absolutely screwed because the flight that I was supposed to be on is gone. Well, not exactly. Before I even left Bloomington, I was imagining the worst case scenario that would see me overnighting in Denver. So, thanks to United's no change fees, I changed my original flight to the 7:50 a.m. flight 1811 the following morning. So even if I had made it to the gate in time for my original flight 1397, I would have tried to clear standby to get onto the flight. Of course, that option is off the table now. Thankfully, United has one more departure of the day going between Denver and Chicago, the 8:55 p.m. flight 377. I saw that it was leaving from gate B41, so I made it there right as boarding began. This is where I really want to highlight the absolute awesomeness of the United app. Without issue, I quickly added my name to the standby list for flight 377. The plane was super empty, so it's no surprise that my name was the only one on the standby list, and as expected, I got not only a confirmed seat, but an entire row to myself. While it sadly wasn't the 757-300, this flight was operated by a 737-900ER, my first time flying one of these since the pandemic, which is crazy to think about.
Yes, sir. Cleared standby. We are going to Chicago. Not my original plan. 757-300 was the original, but got a whole row to myself on the 739, so I will take it. Much rather get to Chicago now than be stuck overnight in Denver.
United's 737-900ER seats 179 passengers with 20 in first class and 159 in the economy cabin. The number of Economy Plus seats tends to vary across certain 900ER subfleets, with this aircraft having 42 of those seats. Upon boarding, passengers were handed sanitizing wipes, which if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you'd know that I fully appreciate these. Our aircraft had the older cabin, which I haven't seen in years, probably since like 2015. But the seats nonetheless were very comfortable, and of course after coming off a Frontier flight, I was not complaining. The seat pack is rather basic with a standard tray table, seat pocket, and 30 or so inches of pitch, which for anyone under 6 feet should be more than sufficient. It also helped to have the entirety of row 28 to myself because I could place my bag somewhere else, giving me as much space as possible. 2 power outlets are located between seats, but unlike the newer 737s, they aren't under the seat in front, so it gets kind of hard to access them. And then above the seat are the passenger service units. This 737 had the Boeing Sky interior installed, which, while not very impressive right now, displayed some beautiful mood lighting later on during the flight. As I mentioned earlier, Denver had been battered by high winds in the 2 or so days leading up to my flights. Thankfully, by this evening, the winds had decreased significantly, so there were little to no delays for any flights getting out around this time. As we taxied out to the runway, I noticed that the runway itself was located quite literally downhill from where we were on the taxiway. If you look closely, you can see the taxiway slopes downward ever so slightly to reach that particular runway. Now, this runway in particular is no ordinary runway. This evening, we're departing from Denver's famous runway 34 left, 16 right. At 16,000 feet in length, this is the longest public use runway in North America and the 7th longest on Earth. As soon as the seatbelt sign switched off, I headed up the cabin to visit the lavatory. The 737-900 has one lavatory between first class and the first row of Economy Plus, but it seems that whoever was in there was taking their sweet time, so I went to one of 2 lavatories in the back, which was clean and just like any other narrow-body plane bathroom. What else can I say? After connecting to the in-flight Wi-Fi, I used the United app to browse the in-flight entertainment. You can also send messages for free and purchase internet access on top of that. Options-wise, no introduction needed. The selection is great and you can easily find something to your liking. Refreshment service kicked off with drinks first, and I had both a cup of water and some ginger ale to start. Another flight attendant came through offering 3 choices of complimentary snacks, for which I chose the delicious chocolate quinoa crisps. Now, I didn't have time to grab a proper dinner in Denver and everything would be closed at O'Hare once we landed, so I went ahead and purchased the Tapas snack box. Now, in my opinion, for $10, this was fantastic value, as included is cheese spread, hummus, Biscoff cookies, almonds, olives, sea salt crackers, and pita chips. The flight was pretty much spent eating and watching a movie. Because I had all of row 28 to myself, I moved across to seat 28A, because if you're flying into O'Hare, you should always try to get a seat on the left side of the aircraft. Despite some moderate turbulence towards the beginning and end of the flight, I felt very relaxed on board, and I guess that's in part due to this being a night flight and the plane being rather empty. Our approach into O'Hare brought us in over the western suburbs, passing south of the airport on downwind, then over downtown Chicago before making a 180 over Lake Michigan and landing from the east on runway 28 center. my one-way fare was just over $91 from Denver to Chicago. Now, thanks to no change fees, I was able to switch my flights without issue, but do keep in mind that the no change fees does not apply to basic economy tickets and also only applies to those flights that were priced the same as your original flight. There will be certain flight options that cost extra to change to, and that's because their original fare would be higher, if I'm understanding that correctly. But overall, it was a great flight on United, and the ease of use on the mobile app made the experience virtually worry-free and very efficient. And here we are, welcome to Chicago. I'd be spending the next couple of hours here in Terminal 1 before heading downtown to catch an Amtrak train back to Bloomington, and that's a video that will be coming out very soon. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. Until I see you next time, take care and goodbye.